Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Om Shri Krishna Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Panchamodhyayaha Karma Sannyasa Yogaha. Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punaryogam Cha Shamsasi Yachreya Etayorekam Tanme Bruhi Sunischitam. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Sannyasaः कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते ज्ञेयः स नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते सांख्ययोगौ पृथक् बालाः प्रवदन्ति न पण्डिताः एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यक् उभयोर्विन्दते फलम् यत्साङ्ख्यै प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो दुःखमाप्तुमयोगतः योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्मा न चिरेणाधिगच्छति योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् स्वशन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन् ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्टिकीम् अयुक्तः कामकारेण फले सक्तो निबध्यते सर्वकर्माणि मनसा सन्न्यस्यास्ते सुखं वशी नवद्वारे पुरे देहि नैव कुर्वन्न कारयन् न कर्तृत्वं न कर्माणि लोकस्य सृजति प्रभुः न कर्मफलसंयोगं स्वभावस्तु प्रवर्तते नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं न चैव सुकृतं विभुः अज्ञेन अज्ञानेनावृतं ज्ञानं तेन मुह्यन्ति जन्तवः ज्ञानेन तु तदज्ञानम् येषां नाशितमात्मनः तेषामादित्यवत् ज्ञानं प्रकाशयति तत्परम् तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मानः तन्निष्ठास्तत्परायणाः गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिं ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषाः विद्या विनयसम्पन्ने ब्राह्मणे गविहस्तिनि शुनि चैव श्वपाके च पण्डिताः समदर्शिनः इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गो येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः ॐ तत्सत् So I'll just read the meanings of these. So what Arjuna is asking is which is better, karma sannyasa or karma? That is karma yoga. So both, and Bhagavan replies, both renunciation of action and performance of action as yoga lead to liberation. But of these two, the performance of action as yoga is better than renunciation of action. The person who neither hates anything nor longs for anything should be known as a renunciate, O Arjuna, because one who is free from the opposites, that is, likes and dislikes, is effortlessly released from bondage. Children, those who do not know, that is, those who do not know, but not the wise, argue that knowledge and karma yoga are different. The person who follows even one of the two properly gains the result of both. The end, moksha, that is gained by the sannyasis, is also reached by the karma yogis. The one who sees knowledge and karma yoga as one, that person alone sees the truth. Ekam sankyancha yogancha yas pashyati sa pashyati. Renunciation of action, O Arjuna, is difficult to accomplish without karma yoga, whereas one who is capable of reasoning, who is committed to a life of karma yoga, gains Brahman quickly. One whose mind is purified by being committed to a life of karma yoga, who has mastered the body and has the sense organs under control, and who knows oneself to be the self in all beings, such a person is not affected even while doing actions. The one who is together, who knows the truth.
Gurudev, Dr. Brahma, the text is not showing.
No, I'm not reading. I'm not showing, reading from, I'm not sharing the screen. I'm reading from the uh, hard copy of the home study. These are
Okay,
only the meanings. I
okay.
will share this text
Sorry.
PDF soon. Huh? I'm just reading all the previous shlokas, the meanings of the previous shlokas.
Okay.
So, one who is together, who knows the truth, thinks, I do not do anything at all. Even while seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, walking, sleeping, breathing, talking, releasing, grasping, opening, and closing the eyes, the person knowing full well that the organs are engaged in their objects. The one who performs actions, giving up attachment, offering one's actions unto Brahman, is not affected by sin, just as the leaf of a lotus is not wetted by water. Giving up attachment, karma yogis perform action purely without attachment, with the body, mind, intellect, and also by the senses for the purification of the mind. The one who is endowed with karma yoga, giving up the result of action, gains a composure born of a commitment to a life of karma yoga. Whereas one who is not committed to a life of karma yoga, led by desire, is bound, being attached to the result of action. The indweller of the physical body, the one who is self controlled, having renounced all actions mentally by knowledge, remains happily in the nine gated city, that is the body, neither performing action nor causing others to act. Atma creates neither doership nor action for any person, nor the connection with the results of action, but one's own nature leads to action. The Atma accepts neither the papa nor the punya of anyone. Knowledge is covered by ignorance, and because of that, ignorance, people are deluded. Whereas, for those whose ignorance of the self is destroyed by knowledge, the knowledge reveals the self as that Brahman, like the sun reveals objects previously covered in darkness. Those whose intellect is awake to that Brahman, for whom the self is that Brahman, who are committed only to that Brahman, for whom the ultimate end is that Brahman, which they have already accomplished, whose impurities have been destroyed by knowledge, they attain a state from which there is no return. Wise people are indeed those who see the same Brahman in a Brahmana who is endowed with knowledge and humility, in a cow, in an elephant, in a dog, and even in a dog eater. The cycle of birth and death, samsara, is won over by those whose mind is rooted in the same, that is Brahman, here itself in this life. Since Brahman, that is free from any defect, is always the same, they, the wise people, abide in Brahman. The one who knows Brahman, who is established in Brahman, whose knowledge is firm, and who is free from delusion, does not rejoice over gaining that which is desirable and does not resent gaining that which is undesirable. We'll stop here. Let me just share the screen. Just give me a second. So we did this Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapake cha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. We've done that. We did that yesterday. Wise people are indeed those who see the same Brahman in a Brahmana who is endowed with knowledge and humility, in a cow, in an elephant, in a dog, and even in a dog eater. So the whole spectrum, they have a samadarsha bhava, samadarshana bhava. Because what are they seeing? They're not seeing the differences. Of course, there are differences because of the difference in the sattva rajas tamas that is there as combination and all these mentioned. But what they see is they see through all of this and they see the one Atma that is pervading in and through. So the Atma again, I'll read the last paragraph. In all of them, the Brahmana, the cow, the elephant, the dog, and the dog eater, the wise see one Atma. And what is that Atma? Sama Atma. Atma that is never subject to change and therefore unaffected by either good or bad samskaras. So the Atma is untouched. Nor is Atma affected by any of the qualities or attributes, gunas, that is tamas, rajas, and sattva, even though it is the basis for all of them. Atma is the truth of all of them because without Atma, none of them can exist. However, Atma itself is free from all of them. This is the Atma, Brahman, that is the same in all. If Atma could be affected in any way, then the dog Atma would be different from the elephant Atma and so on. When the dog bends its head, the Atma will also bend. If this is your understanding, you may think that when you were born, your Atma was innocent and now the Atma has become wild, sad, or whatever. So, we had a discussion on this yesterday. You may also think that you are all of these things and that they cannot be removed. To correct such thinking, Krishna makes it clear that Atma is always pure, Shuddha. The wise people, called Panditas here, are those who see Brahman, which is not subject to modification, in everyone and everything. Because they have this vision, these Panditas are more than scholars. Therefore, they are also called Samadarshis. Krishna then explains what is attained by those who have this vision of sameness. इहैव तैर्जितः सर्गो येषां साम्ये स्थितं मनः निर्दोषं हि समं ब्रह्म तस्मात् ब्रह्मणि ते स्थिताः. Esham, whose manaha, mind, samye, in that which is the same in Brahman. You know, the correlation between Sanskrit and Indian words is so evident here. Samye means same. Sthitam, rooted. Iha eva, even here in this life. Taihi, by those wise people. Sargaha, the cycle of birth and death. Samsara. Jitaha is won over. He, because. Nirdosham, free from any defect. Brahma, Brahman. Samam, same. Tasmat, therefore. Te, Brahmani, in Brahman. Stitaha, abide. So, esham manah samye stitam iha eva taihi sargaha jitaha. He nirdosham Brahma samam tasmat te brahmani stitaha. The cycle of birth and death, samsara, is won over by those whose mind is rooted in the same, that is Brahman, here itself in this life. Since Brahman, that is free from any defect, is always the same, they, that is the wise people, abide in Brahman. We have seen how those who have knowledge of the Atma being Brahman are free from doership and enjoyership caused by ignorance and error. Their self ignorance and everything caused by it has been destroyed in the wake of knowledge. Their minds are awake to Atma being Brahman, being free from any sense of limitation. They know they are free because for them the I is Brahman alone. There is no longer any doubt or error, and nothing more remains to be accomplished. Such people see Brahman in everyone and everything, from the most exalted to the lowliest. How? Because they know that there is only one Atma in all of them, and that the Atma in all beings is the Atma that is their own self. They know that the Atma is not affected by anything that happens to the body, mind, or senses, be it the respected Brahmana's Atma or the dog eater's Atma. Atma is one, whole, limitless, and is manifest in every intellect, just as there is one whole space present in every stomach. Just as you find the all pervasive space wherever you go, so too is consciousness everywhere. Consciousness is not limited by time and space. Consciousness is always there in any place, and all movement takes place in consciousness. Atma is this consciousness. Those who know this are Samadarshis because they recognize the Atma that is the same in all beings. The mind has to be prepared. The wise do not take the Atma as a limited entity, knowing that it is all pervasive and unaffected. Atma is not affected by the body or the nature of even a dog eater or anything the person does, but the ignorant do not recognize this fact. If a wise man were to teach a dog eater, what would he teach him? Would he say, your Atma is impure because you have been eating dogs? Atma is ever pure, and so a wise man cannot make such a statement. Therefore, all he can teach is Tattvam Asi, regardless of whether the listener is an angel, a god, or a dog eater. And how can one say Tattvamasi unless the self happens to be Tat, the self of everything? Atma is the truth of everything, and hence it is always the same. It does not undergo any change. This is why the wise can share his or her vision with anyone. The question, of course, remains whether the listener will be able to understand the teaching. He or she may require some polishing, for which we have various disciplines. First, the dog may be removed from the dog eater's diet so that the person can become a little more sensitive, and that may be followed by other disciplines such as prayer. Only when the mind of the listener has been prepared can the knowledge take place. None of the preparations being discussed here are to purify the Atma. It is only to prepare the person's mind to recognize that the Atma has always been pure. There is no other purpose for such a preparation. It is not a preparation for Atma. It is a preparation for the mind. Nor does this preparation have anything to do with changing the cells of a person's physical body. The preparation has only to do with the person's mind. The mind has to be prepared, and that is all we try to do.
Jai Gurudev.
Yeah.
A mind can be prepared only when one is willing to do it, right?
Can you speak a little loudly? I don't know whether my volume is low.
You know, I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that the mind can be prepared only when a person is willing to do himself. Like we cannot do forcefully. Like if in the family also, yeah, in the circle of friends, or maybe like in a group of Like uh, that we cannot change a person person thought process until unless he himself uh, wants to do uh, want a change for himself,
That
right?
is true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it sometimes it becomes so difficult that how to it then only what we have is prayer,
Yeah,
nothing
what
more.
we have is prayer, and what we need do is role model.
Yeah,
That way, see, look at Gurudev's plight. Look at Krishna's plight at that time. He would want everybody around him to follow his path. But there are so many different varieties, so many grades, gradations of people stuck in a ignorance. If you look at Gurudev and we all go to him with all our, you know, concerns, all our problems that we think are, overpowering us, imagine what his state will be. He can only smile.
yeah,
For him, everyone is the same. Like
yes,
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gavihastine. It is us, for us ignorant people, we categorize people as good, bad, violent, terrorist. But for them at that level, they see only Atma in everyone. Samadarshana. They're Samadarshis.
right.
And in order to get to that state, what do we have to do? There's no need to purify the Atma. Atma is ever pure. We only have to purify the instrument that can receive the knowledge. That is the mind. It's funny when you look at it from a different angle. Why at all this question must have cropped up to all of us and continues to intrigue us as to why on earth, if Atma is pure and we are Atma, why at all this creation? Why at all do we have to, not become impure, but get get into this body, mind, sense complex, which is housing this impurity in the mind with all the likes, dislikes, and everything. It seems intriguing. I said, why? We get into this muck and now we are cleaning up the muck. But that is again the wonder. We understand, yes, we are in this muck. We see that we are in this ignorance. We have a mind that is cluttered with raga dveshas, all the kalmashas. We know that for sure. So what we need to do is accept it now. Yes, I am in this state, and this is what Shastra says. Shastra says, Tattvamasi. That is what I am. So let me begin the journey. By what? By starting to polish not the Atma, but the mind. Prepare the mind to recognize the Atma that I am. See, again, wanting family members or anybody else also to get on, to change, that should not become a binding desire for us. Take a sankalpa and drop it. Otherwise, every time you encounter them or see them, you are stuck with that thing and that feverishness of saying, oh, I want them to change, I want them to change. Rather, focus on yourself. Do whatever manana, sadhana you have to do and just pray and surrender. Whenever, whatever has to happen, it will happen. Because the moment you start getting feverish or upset, oh, they're not doing this, they're not doing that, then impurity seeps into your system, which is not what we are here for, right? So, maintaining our purity, inner purity, yet out of responsibility, taking that sankalpa and surrendering it. We also did not change overnight. No, we were not all doing this Manana and Gita, Dhyana, and all this from the beginning. It took us some time. Like that, everybody has their own journey. So just allow the bud to blossom in its time. But what we need do, yesterday I was just thinking of this example of a seed that is sown in the soil. You will have to give it enough water, enough uh, appropriate situation for it to sprout. Because you're in a hurry for the seed to sprout, it will not help if you continuously water it. What will happen is the seed will die even without sprouting. So it has to be a gradual, appropriate, conducive. Our duty is only to make the whole situation conducive and allow the seed to sprout. I know all of us are mothers here, and we all know. I myself, I nag my children. I used to earlier. Even now, once in a while, you tend to, with respect to their food, respect to their practice. But that is not going to help. Knowingly, I tend to do it. But then I step back now. I step back and you continue to do your practice. Being a role model is most important.
Thank you, Dr. Barbara.
Anybody else wants to share before we go on to the next section? So this preparation has only to do with the person's mind. The mind has to be prepared, and that is all we try to do.
Jai Gurudev.
Yes,
Yes, everybody in this world, they have their own prarabdha and their own time for everything. And when you very rightly said that we just have to do, like you always say, no, kartum shakya, akartum shakya, anyathava kartum shakya. We have to do what we have to do, and then we have to let go, especially as mother, as wives, as daughter, or whatever role we have to play. And another thing is we have to prepare our soil. We have our mirrors should be so clean that even the near ones of ours, they are able to see their own reflection without any raga dvesha in within us. That is one thing. And another thing is very beautiful example I heard yesterday, which I thought I will share. There were three friends who were going in the forest, and each one they were wearing their own very beautiful costumes, and they loved their costumes. One of them had just worn it for the sake. Second one had worn it with a price tag in mind. And third one was so much in love with his clothes that throughout the way he was all engaged in his own dress up. On the way, there were dacoits, and they saw their apparels and all jewelry and everything, and they said that you give all of your things. So the one who was very much detached to the clothes, he easily gave up all his things and started walking again. The second one with little difficulty, and then the third one could not take out. He was crying and welling, and but they were taken with a lot of beating. And so it is very. I know it's not exactly appropriate, but we all of us are so much conditioned. We love our samsara so much that we do not easily give it up. It is not giving up the way the sannyasis do, but we have to accept it as like think that okay, this was enough, its role is this much only. So we have to learn to give up at certain stage everything, whatever, whether it is emotions or raga dvesha for members. And yeah, that's true. Yeah. Jai Gurudev.
Very beautiful. Nice. So it's all about vairagya, being dispassionate about.
We are like those naughty kids who make the clothes dirty while playing, and we refuse to change them. We refuse to give them for washing.
So moving on, treating everyone as equal is not the point. Another point that Shankara clarifies in his introduction to this verse is that when Krishna says that the wise see the Atma in everyone, it does not mean that he treats everyone equally. Suppose a person looks upon a Brahmana and a dog eater as equals, placing them on the same pedestal, so to speak. Can you say that such a person has the vision of the same Brahman in all? Not necessarily. The person may be ignorant, not wise. What must be understood here is that it is not that the wise do not perceive a dog eater as a dog eater. Of course, they do. What Krishna says here is that they recognize one Atma in everyone and everything, one self, that is the self, the truth of all. These are the people being discussed in this verse. They alone are Samadarshis, referred to in the previous verse. So I'll repeat these few paras. Treating everyone as equal is not the point. See, at the level of the samsara, at the level of vyavaharika, you have to see a difference between a plate and a dosa. You can't say both are the same and you'll end up eating what? So, at one level, at Vyavahara, you will see the difference. But what is this treating them equal mean? Seeing that Atma in all of them. So, another point that Shankara clarifies in his introduction to this verse is that when Krishna says that the wise see the Atma in everyone, it does not mean that he treats everyone equally. Suppose a person looks upon a Brahmana and a dog eater as equals, placing them on the same pedestal, so to speak. Can you say that such a person has the vision of the same Brahman in all? Not necessarily. The person may be ignorant, not wise. It is like he says, the dog, I'll have a dog as a pet, I'll have a snake also as a pet. That is being foolish. Because if you treat both the same, both the dog and the snake as same, then you are that is not meant by treating them equal, as in seeing Atma in them. Treating them equal is not the point. What must be understood here is that it is not that the wise do not perceive a dog eater as a dog eater. Of course they do. What Krishna says here is that they recognize one Atma in everyone and everything. One self that is the self, the truth of all. These are the people being discussed in this verse. They alone are Samadarshis, referred to in the previous verse. That is why that example, the story of the Guru and the Shishyas, one of them is a Jnani. And he looks at and he says, everything is Brahman. So when they see, they're going in the forest and they encounter a tiger or an elephant, this person is the first one to run. And then all the other students, they ridicule, saying, how come you said everything is Brahman? So the elephant, the tiger is also Brahman. Why are you running away? And he says, who said, uh, I'm saying that is not Brahman, but this is also Brahman. The running also is part of it. And so he is from the standpoint of he understands that everything is Brahman, but at the same time, at the level of Vyavahara, he understands that there are differences. Not Brahman, that is Mithya. He says everything is Mithya. He says, oh, the tiger is Mithya, the elephant is Mithya. Then this Jnani says, who says running is Satya? Running is also Mithya. So the word sarga means birth and implies the cycle of births and deaths called samsara, the life of becoming that the ignorant are caught up in. The samsara is now won over Gita by the wise, which means that there is no future birth for them. And the winning over takes place while one is alive in this body, in this life, at this time, right now, here, iha eva. These people have gained a victory over this life of becoming through knowledge, thereby proving that such a victory is indeed possible. Krishna then describes the mind of those who gain this victory as being established or steady, sthita, in that which has sameness, samye, that which does not undergo any change whatsoever, Brahman. So why is the samsara is the life of becoming? The word sarga means birth and implies the cycle of births and deaths called samsara, the life of becoming, and that the ignorant are caught up in. We continue to change the state of our mind. The mind, when you have something which is pleasant, I become happy. When I'm encountering something which is unpleasant, I become sad. So this becoming is a continuous process for one who is caught up in samsara and in the false identification that the self, Atma, is the body, mind, intellect, ego, memory. So there is a constant becoming, becoming, becoming. So the samsara is now won over by the wise, which means that there is no future birth for them. And winning over takes place while one is alive. So these Jivan Muktas, we should be really grateful because they are showing the way, saying, hey, listen, while in this body, you can be liberated. Not after you leave the body. Right here, iha eva. These people have gained a victory over this life of becoming through knowledge, thereby proving that such a victory is indeed possible. Krishna then describes the mind of those who gain this victory as being established or steady, sthita, in that which has sameness, samye, that which does not undergo any change whatsoever. Atma is free from attributes. Not being subject to time, Brahman undergoes no change whatsoever. Brahman has no qualities and therefore there is nothing that can undergo change. A substance, for example, has its own peculiar attributes. By adding or taking away certain attributes, the substance undergoes a change. Even if the substance is left alone, in the course of time, its attributes undergo changes. Thus,
It always goes on changing. There is only one thing that does not undergo any change whatsoever, and that is Atma, that is Brahman. Even space disappears in sleep, but not Brahman. Not being subject to change, there is no death for the Atma. Atma neither dies, nor does it cause anything to die. Death is only for a substance that obtains within time. If you analyze Atma, you will see it can only be Chaitanya, consciousness. The analysis itself is possible because of my being conscious of my mind, senses, body, this world, and other people, with reference to which I take myself to be a separate entity, which is not true. In fact, all that I can objectify is anatma. Atma is the only one that is self evident. Even time is evident to the self evident Atma. Time does not objectify consciousness. Rather, in my consciousness, there is the concept of time. Anything other than Atma, being totally dependent upon Atma for its existence, is called Mithya, and Atma, that is self existent, is Satya, the truth of everything. Not being bound by time, Satya Atma is not subject to change or death. It always remains the same. Therefore, in this verse, Atma is called Samya, meaning that the self is in everything and yet is not affected by Punya Papa or the qualities of Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva. And for whom is this Samya, the Atma? Certainly not for the one who is affected. Suppose I take myself as one who possesses the good qualities of a Brahmana. For example, can I sit beside a dog eater and watch him eat? Even if the food is nicely served and the table beautifully decorated with flowers and all? Of course not. Being a humble Brahmana, I will surely shrink and want to leave immediately. If I am the Atma that enjoys the attributes of scholarship and so on, and another Atma is the one who has the attributes of ignorance and error, then definitely each Atma is different. But the wise people, Panditas, Samadarshis, have the vision of the self that is the same in all, unaffected by anything and everything that happens to be done by anyone. Moksha is not after death. For those whose minds are awake to this Atma, the life of becoming, that is samsara, is no more, even while they are alive here, iha eva, in this body. This means that freedom, moksha, is not after death. How can knowledge of Atma happen after death? All you do after death is travel. If you spend your life meditating on Brahman as the cause of everything, praying to that Brahman and so on, without understanding that you are Brahman, then you may go to Brahmaloka, the heaven considered to be the greatest of all the heavens. Please do not ask me if there is a Brahmaloka. I cannot prove that there is, and you cannot prove that there is not. Therefore, let us simply assume that Brahmaloka is, and that you, having lived a life of devotion to Ishvara, will go there and live with Brahmaji for some time. There, you will enjoy peace and whatever happiness Brahmaloka has to offer. Eventually, Brahmaji may even decide to teach you. What will he teach? He can teach only Tattvamasi, exactly what you were taught before, when you were here in this life. Now, Brahmaji is teaching you, and you understand. You are liberated by knowledge. And when does this liberation take place? Only now. Always now. There is no after death moksha. If there is survival after death, there is only travel not moksha. Moksha gained by being taught by Brahmaji is also not after death moksha. Moksha is not an event in time, it is an accomplished fact. Atma is always liberated, mukta. If bondage were real, even God could not remove it because it would be a reality, God's own reality. Nor can God remove a bondage that is false because it is not there. No one can remove something that does not exist, not even God. God can only teach and make you understand that there is no bondage. I will read this paragraph again. Moksha is not after death. For those whose minds are awake to this Atma, the life of becoming, samsara, is no more. Even while they are alive here, iha eva, in this body. This means that freedom, moksha, is not after death. How can knowledge of Atma happen after death? All you do after death is travel. If you spend your life meditating on Brahman as the cause of everything, praying to that Brahman and so on, without understanding that you are Brahman, then you may go to Brahmaloka, the heaven considered to be the greatest of all the heavens. Please do not ask me if there is a Brahmaloka. I cannot prove that there is, and you cannot prove that there is not. Therefore, let us simply assume that Brahma Loka is, and that you, having lived a life of devotion to Ishvara, will go there and live with Brahmaji for some time. There, you will enjoy peace and whatever happiness Brahma Loka has to offer. Eventually, Brahmaji may even decide to teach you. What will he teach? He can teach only Tattvamasi, exactly what you were taught before when you were here in this life. Now Brahmaji is teaching you and you understand. You are liberated by the knowledge. And when does this liberation take place? Only now. Always now. There is no after death moksha. This seemingly is in contradiction to what was told in the previous paragraph. But let's read and understand. If there is survival after death, there is only travel, not moksha. Moksha gained by being taught by Brahmaji is also not after death moksha. That is the point to understand. Moksha is not an event in time, it is an accomplished fact. Atma is always liberated, mukta. If bondage were real, even God could not remove it because it would be a reality, God's own reality. Nor can God remove a bondage that is false because it is not there. No one can remove something that does not exist, not even God. God can only teach and make you understand that there is no bondage. This paragraph is very, very profound. So let's understand this. And let's do Manana on this before we go on to the next one. Moksha is not an event. Moksha is, if you liken moksha to Atma, to Brahman, it is beyond time. Time is in it. Moksha is not bound by time.
Jay
Moksha is
Prabhu,
right.
so the word travel here, it is only for understanding that journey from being, becoming to being, right? There is no literal travel. in the sense that the Atma remains, the space is always there, right? So the here the travel word is just for understanding. Otherwise, it is like when you say the journey from becoming to being. So there is no travel there. It is just you realize. So, and that realization while living, not after the death. Is it the same understanding? What else?
Correct, correct.
Mhm.
So even in Brahmaloka, there also you're existing there in a way, in a different form. You may not be there in this body, but you are there. And when Brahmaji teaches you and you are liberated, and that liberation is then and there. It is not what I think, what from my understanding is moksha is not like an event. It's not like something that happens after something. It's not a state that you achieve. It is you. You only have to remove that veil of ignorance. You are already liberated. Only that identification has to be removed, and that is with knowledge. So, moksha is that is why you have Jivan Muktas or people who attain moksha in Brahmaloka after having been taught by Brahmaji. But it is not an it is not like how ice turns into water and then after that turns into water vapor. So there is an after. After ice is melted, it becomes water. And after water is heated, it becomes steam and water vapor. And after this water vapor is cooled, it becomes ice again. So moksha is not a similar state that is achieved. It is not a state that after life, after death, you get moksha. Meaning, achire na adhigachati. It can happen right now. While you're living in this body, you can attain moksha. And for those who have not attained moksha while living in this body, because of their good deeds or whatever, they go to Brahma Loka because they have been pursuing Brahma, committed to Brahma. And there, at that point, when Brahmaji teaches and you gain, that veil is removed, of ignorance is removed, you attain it then and there. So it is in the now. It is not bound by time. So when everything is ready for that realization to dawn, it can happen anytime. So it's not like a Jivan Mukta. Through his life, he is living, and after death, he attains moksha. He attains moksha while in his body.
Basically, it is like the feeling of completeness, fullness, that
Mm,
no limitations and no, like, he doesn't need anything to complete his inner self. He is
correct.
always contented. So,
Yeah. So we'll stop here. We'll do it again tomorrow and we'll take it forward. Today is actually, according to the north of India, Shravan Mas began from July 30th and it continues till, I think, middle of August. But for South Indians, the Shravan Mas begins from 13th of August and continues till 11th of September. So today is the first Monday of Shravan Mas. So it's a good idea to meditate on Rudram. Play it and then just meditate. Those of you who have the Sattva app can download it. I mean, can use that. If those who do not have the Sattva app, I'll share the Sattva details. It's a free app you can download and you can listen to the Rudram. It's actually very good. Cleanses the atmosphere, cleanses the mind. Mantras have their own effect. So we'll stop here. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.
एकमेवाद्वितीयं ब्रह्मं निर्गुणं निश्चलं निर्विकारम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ब्रह्म अत्र वेदान्तमेव प्रमाणम् बोधक सद्गुरु तत्त्वनिष्ठः ईश्वरानुगृहीतेन वेद्यम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ज्ञानगम्यं तुरीयं हृदस्थम् आत्मरूपं हि तत् येन ज्ञातम् सोऽध्वनः पारमाप्नोति सत्यम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ब्रह्मज्ञस्य तु ब्रह्मैव सर्वं नास्ति मोहो भयं नैव दुःखम् तस्य स्वानन्दमग्नं हि चित्तम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म निर्गुणं निश्चलं निर्विकारम् एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म एकमेवाद्वितीयं ये ब्रह्म ब्रह्मैव सत्यम्